The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good late morning, everybody. Good afternoon to our friends in the East Coast time zone. Still morning in the West. Thanks for joining us today. We are going to be talking about security awareness training. Our folks that we're talking to today, Cybeready, they're going to be presenting, telling you all about what you should be thinking about when it comes to security awareness training. We have Jonathan Stone and Demi Corden, both from Cybeready, which is dual headquarters, I believe, in Santa Clara and Tel Aviv, but they are coming to us from Tampa Bay. Enjoying some warm summer weather, they said. So you've been on these before. You know how we do it. We meet productive in 1 minute, and then we'll get me off the microphone, which I'm sure you'll enjoy, and hand it over to Jonathan and Demi. They're going to talk about current threat landscape, employee training, using monitoring to reduce threat gaps, and how using their solution can reduce threat risk by over 80%. If you have questions, utilize the chat feature. We'll get them answered along the way. But first, who is Productive? Well, even though you're muted, I'm glad you asked. Productive Corporation helps improve the security posture of mid-sized companies. That's really it in a nutshell. We do it with specialized expertise that help you understand your overall security needs. We also have the ability to implement, test, and optimize products that you buy from us, as well as doing assessments, AD security services, configuration assistance, and UTM services. We also produce a lot of third-party content. We have a new ebook coming out on MDR that's going to be launching shortly. We have a lot of videos and a lot of these presentations where we talk about security areas and things to be thinking about. All this on productivecorp.com/solving security. The bottom line is we can help you on any of these things. Shoot us a note, help@productivecorp.com. It goes to a lot of us over here, and we will help you any way that we can. So like I said at the top, here's what our agenda is for today. Very happy to have Cybeready here, and pretty excited to hear what they have to say. So with that, why don't we give a warm virtual round of applause to Jonathan and Demi from Cybeready. Woo! That's deafening if you guys could hear it in the background. Jonathan, I've made you presenter, and I see your screen.
All right. Which screen do you see?
I'm seeing your Gmail and that you are going to be on the Productive Corp Cybeready webinar.
All right, we'll just go like this and make that easy instead of flipping screens around. How about that? Or can you see my? All right, perfect. I appreciate it. So we'll go ahead and get that started right here. Hi, everybody. I am Jonathan Stone. I am the Vice President of Sales for the U.S. for Cybeready. Just to give you a little bit about my background, I have been working in this industry for about 10 years now. I've worked with some of the other organizations in this field, as well as certified as a security awareness cultural professional. So what does all of that mean? It means I know where threats are coming from. It means, I totally understand that security training is a necessity in life, and want to tell you a little bit about Cybeready. And the first thing I'd like to say is this really isn't security awareness training. Being aware of something knows, yeah, something will happen, or you could be at a football stadium, you're sitting in the stands, you're aware of the game. But what we really do is readiness training. We want you to be ready for when that attack happens, and it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when that attack will happen. We want you and your users to be trained on how to spot that attack, how to react to that attack, and keep your organization safe. So, there are a lot of solutions out there. Why are organizations moving to us? Well, as you're going to see, one size doesn't fit all. It's the way it is. You can't just have one overview for training. It's got to be really customized for who your customers are. Another reason that people are coming to our solution is employees resent training. You know, how many of you like to sit in a training session that's 45 minutes or an hour and then have a quiz at the end? It just takes too much time. It takes too much effort. And really, and the situation we're in now is everybody needs to be working a solution, and we need it up and running really as soon as possible. So in these days of when COVID hit, you know, luckily in Florida here, we were very lax on COVID, that we were able to go into the office if needed. But this has become the great resignation. You know, there's a high employee turnover. So every time you have new users, you got to retrain them. You don't know their habits. If people are working remotely, how do you know they're really doing anything? It's a new mindset where people have really a shortened attention span, and now everybody is sharing everything, whether it be through Slack or email or on their phone. Everybody is in communication and sharing some kind of information. So current solutions right now, these are what we've really found are some of the big reasons why customers come to us. The annual training just doesn't work, especially with turnover. If you're doing annual training, it's possible that position could have been turned over twice before they get training. You know, we're in right now as Zoom reality. People are doing all of their work online, and there's a lot of manual labor, and it really isn't scalable, especially with budget cuts. But really, there is a different way on how this can be done, not only fast and economically, but very easy for your end users. Cybeready has a 3D engine, and this is where you're going to see when Demi goes and talks to you and shows you our platform. This 3D engine does most of the work for you. So you have 3 simple steps in going live here. You have settings that you set up. And in these settings, you're going to be able to pick and choose what kind of simulated phishing you'd like to go out to your users. Again, with our data-driven distribution, if you have employees all over the world or all over the country, do you have time between the different time zones and trying to sit there and make sure everybody is doing anything? That's where this system comes into place here. It localizes the users. It uses their native language, so they're learning and being able to process more of that information. It's optimizing the content to where they are located. You can see here just a couple of examples. We also have a real-time dashboard. This is great. You will be able to monitor your organization and how your users are doing in real time, very easy to use. As you can see right there, the real-time dashboard actually integrates with our 3D engine. And all of this is being done behind the scenes to make your life a lot easier. So what we're going to do here, let me go to the next screen here. It talks a little bit here about adaptive learning. And last but not least, this is probably the most important slide I can show you here. While I've worked at other solutions, you had to choose from a long list of training content. You had to choose from your phishing content. You had to go ahead and set this all up yourself and then make sure it's all running. With Cybeready, it's completely different. It's fully automated security awareness training with one click. And with that, I'm going to throw this over to Demi here so she can show you the platform. And Demi, let's see if I can do this correctly and
thank you.
Get this sent over to you. And I am not seeing that button there, so give me a second here. Demi, do you have control right now?
Okay.
There you go. Okay, I can see your Slack message.
I do. Oh, that's horrible.
Yeah, so we have your Slack up there.
It stopped, right?
Yep. You have a choice when you do the share your screen to pick
There we
which
go.
screen you want.
Yeah, when it brought over and asked me to become a presenter, it didn't give me an option, so it just popped in there.
All right.
Can you guys see this?
Yeah, totally. That looks
Yes.
great.
Perfect. So sorry, guys. That's a little embarrassing. I guess I have to go back to school for a go-to meeting. Who does that? So I appreciate you guys hopping on with me today. So my name is Demi. I'm an enterprise account executive over here at Cybeready. And actually, this last month, I celebrated 9 years in the industry. So I've done everything from XDR, like two-factor authentication. I worked at Gartner, worked with some of the other security awareness providers in the industry. And so the very big thing for me is I love innovation and I love disruption. And one of the largest things that Gartner does is Gartner walks through a hype cycle, and that's basically going to take you from like the point of inception to mainstream adoption, and then also the point of dissolution, and that's for any type of technology that's out there. And so especially when I go to a new organization, I am super hyped about the technology. Like, I want your VP of product on the phone. I want to be able to hop in here and really just start to see where the efficiencies are. And there's really a reason why, you know, some people that I've worked with 9 years ago still work with me today. And that's because I don't change the way that I think based on a product. I am all about where is the market going. And so before I kind of hop in here, I think some of the major differences that you're going to kind of see is some of these platforms that have been out here have become, you know, over cumbersome. Security awareness training or security readiness training is not XDR. You have a full SOAR team as it is right now. There's no reason why your team should be spending 3+ hours a month managing a console. And I think that as an industry, and Gartner also thinks this as well, we went so far into this kind of like security, defense, and depth type of area, when in reality we should be bringing it down to learning principles. How do you actually teach a person? And then I think there is another kind of contrast here, whereas we don't really trust our employees. And I mean, don't get mad at me for saying it, but everyone's smart in their own right, whether they have college degrees or tech degrees or military degrees or just have learned from their fathers. You don't really need, especially in this age of instant gratification, so much information on your users. It definitely starts to increase that employee resentment. And when we're in the age where people are, you know, running to McDonald's or Burger King, or you're like TikTok or Instagram Reels or whatever the YouTube one version of it, everyone needs information very, very quickly and super digestible. And so Cybeready is super great, especially in where we are with the economy right now. I mean, I think Verizon fired like 6,000 people a couple of weeks ago. Everyone is unsure about budget. They're scrambling to find different ways to maneuver around their teams, to make sure that notoriously, especially in SMB and small enterprise, resource constrained, budget constraints, staff constraints, we need everyone working multiple roles. And so the simple way is, how are we continuing to rely on these IT admins to kind of figure out, you know, how a person learns? Is it something that's gamified, or is it something, it's kind of leaving it all back to thought and hypothesis rather than data. And so we're definitely over at Cybeready moving from an industry that was more content is king heavy now to where we are where data is king. And so that's enough of me on my soapbox. Let's get into this. So the first thing that you guys are seeing right here is our resilience dashboard. We believe that it is much more effective to be able to watch how a risk reduction goes in your organization versus phish-prone percentage. Let's say your phish-prone percentage, your click rate is going down, but you get down to that 1%, 2%, and that's filled with your VP of accounting and maybe your general counsel. Because of those roles and the level of access that those people have in your organization is actually not less risky. And so what you're always going to be able to track, besides just the engagement, making sure that your users are actually using this, is what are we doing in risk. And so you see orange is high risk. We want that to get lower over time. Medium risk is going to kind of fluctuate because that's just a normal person, whereas we want low risk to increase all the time. And that's going to show and prove to you that what we're doing here is effective. And so quickly, I'm going to show you what you need to do, only 3 easy steps, or really 4 easy steps to get started. And then we can kind of go into the background of what the computer is doing. So first part, most of you guys probably already have an Active Directory. Get that synced in and integrated. We'll give you 5 to 8 domains that we're going to want you to whitelist. Go ahead and do that. And then you're going to go into the phishing campaign, because we're going to run a 90-day baseline period. We want to kind of know where your organization is, what are your users' proficiency levels, what type of emails they would fall subject to. And so we are going to, based on your industry, give you a couple suggested emails that we think would be good for you to start with on your baseline. Now you can start to look at some of these emails. Let's say, oh, hey, I don't think that this email will be something that's effective for my organization. You can always just switch that out. You switch out, and it automatically will give you a new email that you can now use. Once you toggle on and toggle off, figure out which emails you want to start with, you click on this activate button, and then you click autopilot, and you are all done.
Hey, Debbie.
Yes.
Is that, can you customize those? And then are there specific content that goes to specific roles?
So yes, on your baseline, everything is going to be kind of just understanding where your proficiency levels are, but everything here is editable. And yes, we do take into account what that person's role is, but first we need to kind of understand where their proficiencies levels are, where they're located, what type of emails or compromises they are more susceptible to, and then we start to target that even more. And so everything is going to be individualized based on each employee.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. I love questions, by the way. I hate a cold bench, but you can't really do that on a webinar, so I appreciate you. And so that was the full extent of what you guys actually have to do, but I'm sure you're like, Demi, what are you talking about? We need to figure out what's actually happening in the background. So there's a couple of really key things that are happening here. We run everything off of a machine learning base, off of mathematical algorithms. And so during that time, we're going to separate your users into specific groups. Either they're going to be beginners, they're going to be high-risk users, and advanced. And depending on where they are in your environment, we are going to provide phishing directly tied to what they're doing. And so, for example, somebody that's high risk, I'm going to want to double up the intensity on that person, because obviously, you know, sorry, Sally from accounting isn't just getting it right now. But I think what's super important is that you always have to keep these reinforcement messages super positive. What we've learned is that users, if you tell them, no, you're wrong, you're bad, you're bad, you're bad, you're bad, people get sick of it. And so you have to kind of stagger it out a little bit. And so maybe we send some easy emails, see how they're doing, and then maybe I send something that's a little bit harder. I see that maybe they fail that, so then I go back to the easy ones a little bit more as I'm continuing to drip them with different content and learning principles. So the next time they see, you know, maybe a BEC compromise, they will actually be able to get that correct, and then we can continue to go on to higher proficiency levels, more difficult. Almost done here, guys. So I think this feature is super key, super helpful. So Audit Ready is not only what I position more as your onboarding for your guys, because what we found is also, even if you're measuring your fish bone percentage or your click rate, it's not always accurate, because every time a new user comes into your organization, especially if they're remote, usually, you know, they don't know as much depending on where they came from. So they tend to pose a higher level of risk. And so there has to be some certain level of I guess, baseline of IT knowledge that all of our users have. But then, of course, you guys are coming from all of these different industries, whether it's, you're, dealing with PCI compliance or HIPAA compliance or FERPA. There's so many things that you guys need. And so we went ahead and created a couple of, the really important cybersecurity topics. And we already got those ready for you guys. But of course, you guys probably have BYOD policies, different policies in your organization as well. You can also throw in your own policies as well as some of those compliance policies. And the point is generally when you guys start off your onboarding, someone's going to get, 10 pages or 12 pages, and they're not going to read it. They're honestly just going to go to the bottom, sign, and call it a day. But that's not really effective. And so if you give people bite-sized pieces of information, sort of like this, there's a better chance that they will be able to retain that information. And of course, we have every type of report that you can think of. And so if you need that acknowledgement for your auditing purposes, we can send that over. Two more places. So these are our cyber awareness bites. This is how we deliver our training. This is going to be another huge difference to what's going on in the industry. If you think of an apple can be green or red. It can be sliced in half or diced in pieces, but you're always going to look at it and know that's an apple. Why? Because you physically have just seen an apple so many times. You look at some of these Fortune 50, Fortune 100 companies, and they do the same. Short bits of information work. And so, for example, this is what, one of our trainings would look like on passwords. Super simple, super direct, and super to the point. We're, relying on our users a little bit more. And even if they just open the email for 2.5 seconds, they're immediately going to see this. So they learned even if they wanted to or they didn't. But we have this ongoing learning that's happening. So whether it's within our phishing emails, simulation emails, or it's within our training, there's always going to be videos that are no longer than 1 minute, 15 seconds. That way we don't, lose a person's attention, and it will be directly tied to, I guess, whatever awareness fight or whatever phishing email you guys are looking at. And last but not least, of course, I am serious into business, serious into ROI. And sometimes, we have to go back to these executives and we have to kind of show them what our organization has done and how can we prove that hard and soft ROI. And so we do have the ability to give you a quick update on everything that's happened within that last quarter. Everything from phishing summary and your risk groups in your organization and how they're doing and engaging with their training, all the way to your improving departments versus vulnerable, what type of attacks are tripping up your employees. But the CIOs that I've talked to, they find this the most valuable slide because it quickly gives you a summary of all the things that we've been doing in your organization. And so with that, I've probably been talking a little bit too much as we are, and I definitely want to open it up for some questions.
So, yeah, Demi, is that you can run that report customized for date ranges?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you can.
I gotcha. It just kind of popped up those dates, but there's got to be somewhere where the settings are on there.
Yes. So we believe in concierge level customer service. And so your customer success manager is going to work with you on everything, but everything in our console is fully customizable. We just try to have less user intervention, and so not everything is automatically shown for you, but it doesn't mean that we can't turn the feature on.
I got you. So if you want a quarterly report, they'll just have that in there as default, or they'll build that so that you can kind of have what you need.
Exactly. And then we can set up the date times and the date ranges on when you want that sent out.
Yeah, awesome. Hey, so how long, looks like it's pretty quick to get this thing up and running, right? All you got to do is tie it to your Active Directory.
Yep.
What's the buy to live time generally?
Yeah, so super short. I'll give you an example. So Royal Bank of Scotland came on, and I think they had about 150,000 employees. And then within 3 hours, we were able to do their offboarding and their onboarding for us.
Oh, okay. So our customers are smaller than that. So I think a fraction of the time we're this mid-market, right, between 100 and 1,000. So there's some bigger customers in there, obviously, but Yeah, so pretty quick to get up and running.
Super quick. Just really the Active Directory. And then besides that, everything else is easy. The system does everything for you.
Yeah. Oh, it's pretty cool. So when you guys are out, I mean, obviously we know there's other competitors out there that offer other solutions. I guess maybe let me ask you this question. What would they say about you that you don't feel is very accurate relative to representation of what you do, right? If they're throwing, I'm going to say, shade on your product set, what do they say, and how do you say that's not correct?
I think they probably would say that we don't have as many phishing templates as they do. But I think that's super inaccurate. Just because I don't show you everything doesn't mean I don't have it. And that is exactly why users leave some of those organizations and come to us in the very first place. Is let's say, you're arguing that you have, 1,000 phishing templates and 3,000 pieces of training content. When people are actually going over and looking at their agreement at the end of the year, I mean, they've used 12 phishing emails max, 13, 14 emails max. And then just the amount of time of just, I guess, assigning exactly what you need at what point. Cybeready is built on the foundation of machine learning. And so we're only going to show you what you need to see, not so much to just pretend like we have so much, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that's definitely good. So yeah, I just I saw that question about pricing for 50 to 60 emails. We'll follow up with you directly on that. Yeah, that's all we really have for questions. Really great presentation. Really appreciate the the time, the questions, good stuff. So
of course.
Yeah.
So
thank you so
pleasure
much.
to
I
be here
appreciate
today.
the time.
Yeah, that's cool. So thank you so much for Jonathan and Demi for hopping on today. Everybody else, really appreciate you taking time as well.